You're listening to Sound Opinions. I'm Greg Cott with Jim DeRogatis. We are here at the Goose Island Tap Room. We are very excited to have Courtney Barnett. Welcome, Courtney.
Hi.
Great to have you here. So, how does it feel to be a Best New Artist Grammy nominee?
It feels great. Feels really good. Yeah,
Jim's favorite artist, Meghan Trainor, won the Grammy Award for Best New Artist. But
that is a pretty cool song, isn't it? All about that bed.
Yeah. No, I think I know I've heard it. I think.
You're among friends. You can be honest.
No, yeah, I'm just not too sure if I've heard it to comment on it.
Do you know? I mean, it seems weird to say, but congratulations on not winning, because you know the history of the Best New Artist Grammy.
No.
The artist that wins, almost invariably, very rare exceptions, like 5 out of 50. Immediately go into the crapper and are never heard from again. Like Christopher Cross, you know.
Milli Vanilli.
Would you be saying the same thing if I won, though?
We'd be saying, be really careful. And we hope you have good health insurance.
Did you actually go to the Grammys in L.A.?
Yeah, I did. I took my girlfriend and my band and sat just near Patti Smith. And that was probably the best part of the night, actually.
Wow. Did you say hello, or did she say hello, or?
No.
She can be a little scary. We've both interviewed her.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure she's not scary. I just didn't know what to say to her.
So this is a big event. All these guys and gals all dressed up. Did you have like one of those what am I going to wear moments, or did you just show up like you're going out for a night and it's no big deal? What was your attitude about that whole evening? Were you into the pomp and circumstance of the Grammys?
I bought a shirt that I thought looked kind of nice and borrowed my friend's shoes because mine were just dirty. Yeah.
You went all out, in other words, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I did.
And after parties, this is the other part of the evening. It's Clive Davis has the big party, and all that apparently Paul McCartney couldn't get into. It's
my
another,
party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I know you've got a song addressing this very same subject, but
yeah.
What was your attitude about that?
Well, we just had we hired this little bar thing that had a bowling alley and just had a party with some of our friends.
I love it. You went to a bowling alley. That's great.
Beyonce didn't come.
She couldn't get in.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Banned from the Courtney Barnett party. I love it. It's great. All right, and I'm very anxious to hear what you have to think, what you have to say about the chair you're sitting in, because not many people pay attention to album art, but I'm one of those people who really do care about those kind of things. And I would notice your first album has all of these illustrations, apparently that you did, of various seats, various chairs.
Mm-hmm.
You seem to be really into that idea of drawing chairs and sitting on chairs. So how does our chair rate?
This is great. It's a great chair. I can't wait to go home and draw it.
You haven't moved on to tables or bookcases?
No, well, when I decided on the album title, I started doing sketches for ideas for artwork, and just went with one thing and kind of worked on it, and then ended up having all these leftover things. So
yeah, it's great.
Cheers.
Sometimes I sit and think, and sometimes I just sit, and there's all sorts of speculation. You got it from Winnie the Pooh, or Satchel Paige had said something similar, the baseball pitcher. And what's the real story behind that album title?
It was on a poster. Well, it still is at my grandma's house, and it's like this cute dog, and but yeah, I think it's a A.A. Milne quote originally, maybe.
A.A. Milne by way of Grandma.
Yes.
In Melbourne.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
What are your earliest memories about thinking I can do this?
I feel like my memories start around 10. I started playing guitar when I was about 10, and I got a brother who's 4 years older than me, so I looked up to him a lot, and he had mixtapes from his friends with like Hendrix and Nirvana and Ace of Base and
Of course.
yeah, and stuff like that. So I guess I kind of grew up listening to that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So Nirvana was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
That's a comparison I've made, and not sonically. I mean, I think a lot of shorthand rock critics have said, there's a '90s vibe, but I think in terms of the intensity, especially that you show on stage, and also the wordplay and the love of melody, but also power. So yeah, what made you fall in love with that music?
I sometimes it's hard to tell what it is. I think a lot of the time, it probably has a lot to do with that was the point when I kind of fell in love with music. So it's got that kind of nostalgia thing for me. But I just remember being obsessed with it, and we got our first family computer, and I would type out the lyrics as I was listening to the record, and Mum came in one day, and I was listening to In Utero, and I'd written what's that? I want to eat your cancer, and Mum was like, "What are you listening to?" So, but I don't think I really knew what the words were or what they meant.
Well, you mentioned Ace of Base, and I thought it was interesting because I know you were playing, at least one of your bands was playing some cover songs, right? You were basically a guitar player. That's how you cut your teeth, right?
Yeah.
As a live performer, you were basically a guitarist in a band, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that experience.
Well, yeah, and at high school it was kind of in music class, you pick your instrument and then you do your assessments and stuff, and there was the pretty girls in the class that were the singers, and some people who had been learning piano since they were young, and I started playing guitar, so I started being the guitar player for a lot of the singers, and I was just too nervous to sing in front of anyone. I think I didn't really sing. When I started playing guitar, it was too hard to sing and play at the same time. It took me so long to figure out how that works. But then, straight out of school, I mean, I was always kind of writing my songs, but just keeping them very secret. And then, made a cover band with some friends.
So what kind of covers?
Michael Jackson, Toto, Sheryl Crow, Ace of Base. What's that song? Yeah, Winner, that one.
I would always talk to these Australian musicians, especially ones who came up in the 70s and 80s, everybody from Nick Cave to AC/DC, and they would always say how tough the bar scene was in Australia. If you weren't pleasing the crowd, they would really let you have it. They would let you know. It was a hard drinking crowd. They wanted to hear some good time music, and if you weren't delivering, you had to put on a show. Did you experience any of that? Playing Toto covers in bars?
No, I mean, when we were doing that, it was pretty much just our friends, convincing them to come. And I mean, I've heard those kind of stories, and people would just throw beers, glasses of beer at the bands. But I think luckily I kind of, was a bit later than that.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a punk scene that you stumbled into eventually, Courtney?
No, I when I started, I mean, aside from the cover band, which, I mean, it counts for a lot, but it doesn't, I don't count it as much. When I first started singing my songs, it was at open mic night, so it was very kind of acoustic and gentle. And then I started working in bars when I moved to Melbourne, and little 100-person room kind of things, and we just if the band didn't show up, I'd play in a band with another guy who worked behind the bar, and we would kind of pour the beers, do the sound, and then sometimes we'd play the gig as well, and be like, serve yourself, and then run and fix the sound, and so it was fun. So I guess we did that, and yeah, I guess that's kind of fun.
And you got to say at the end of the night, tip your bartender. And then you'd run behind the bar.
No one tips in Australia.
Really?
Yeah, kind of, but it's not a thing.
Wow.
No wonder people are throwing stuff in
Someone
there.
did steal our tip jar,
Anger
so
from...
yeah.
How'd you overcome that hurdle about singing? How did you get past the idea of singing in front of an audience?
Well, I don't think I am totally over it, but I'm definitely more over it than I was then. I think I just started writing songs that I felt comfortable singing, and in a way that I felt in my safe zone sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. I guess just with.
Well, that first EP you put out in 2011, it seemed like that was a lot of what we're hearing now in terms of the tone. I mean, you just played a song from that era, really. Scotty Says was written around that time.
Yeah.
It seemed like that conversational style that you have now was pretty much in place when you were writing those EPs that you put out on your own label. How did you discover that voice? Was it just like, hey, I'm doing these kind of things in private, and who knows, we'll hear it? And
yeah, I think I just was trying a lot of different things, and I was kind of making loops, and I had some cheap recording program, and I would kind of make up some music and then read out of my book and see what kind of fitted where, and it was a lot of, I don't know where I got the kind of inspiration from, but yeah, I would just kind of read over the top of it, hit record, and see what sounded good, and then sometimes a melody would kind of form and it would turn into something, and it was a kind of slow process, but I guess, yeah.
And then you form your own label and put that stuff out. I mean, that was a pretty bold move, too. You never tried to shop it, or anybody interested in putting this out for me?
Yeah, no one was really interested, so... well, I didn't really... I mean, I was just kind of playing shows around Melbourne, and we'd kind of been... I was playing another band as well, and we were touring, but it was... I didn't really know how to do that. I didn't know how to shop stuff around, so I just figured, I'd make a store and people could buy it if they wanted to.
Become a record mogul.
Yeah, that's me.
So this is really full circle. I mean, you kind of this is how far is it what you're doing here in Chicago for the Goose Island Tap Room from what you were doing in those coffee houses, and then.
This is kind of it. Well, my open mic night was in a whiskey distillery bar thing in Hobart. So yeah. Back
to your roots.
Yeah, it's like I'm nervous all over again.
See, I told you the whole
The
Best New Artist
crush on
Grammy
is
was a
over there.
curse. You know, you're right back where you started.
What should I? Maybe I'll do this song. It's on the new album. It's called Elevator Operator.
Elevator Operator by Courtney Barnett. I love, not to get all rock criticky on you, okay, but I love the different ways we can read that song. I mean, in some ways it seems like a mini novella, about, why is the boy taking the elevator to the roof? Is he going to jump off, right? But then I had another perspective when I've read you say in interviews, it's not really about that, it's about judgment and how people think they know your story when they look at you, but do they?
Yeah. And a good example is the other day after Coachella Festival in Palm Springs, we had a mini emergency. We had to go to a medical center, and there was this old lady, and she looked at us, and she was talking to son or someone who was with her, and she said, what kind of jobs do people like that with long hair like that have? What kind of job could they possibly have? Looking at all of us, because we had like T-shirts and, you know, so, I mean, that's, you know, it kind of covers that in the song, but, yeah, I don't know. That's one tiny aspect of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what the inspiration was? Because you've said that one of the things you do when you are writing is you jot down little phrases all the time, little observations, right? What was the genesis of that tune in particular, Elevator Operator?
I was living in this house on Easy Street in Collingwood, and my friend came over for dinner, Oliver. He's the character in the story, and he just kind of said that he'd had a weird experience that day. He went, I mean, it's a pretty blow by blow. He went to the Nicholas Building, which is in the middle of Swanson Street, and he wanted to go to the roof because he heard it was a nice view. And this lady got in the elevator with him and wouldn't let him go to the roof because she thought he was going to kill himself. And I mean, yeah, it's a weird story, but and then I kind of created, you know, a story around it, because obviously I wasn't there and didn't know the rest of it. But yeah, I kind of just used a little bit of poetic license.
Will the Coachella emergency room visit become a song then?
Well, it would be Avant Gardener Part 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I've written enough songs about ambulances and hospitals.
Would you mind taking us through one of your songs? Just sort of where does it start, and you know, how do you flesh out an idea, that first idea that flashes in your head?
Yeah. So a song like Depreston, I remember I went and looked at a house, and in the car on the way home, I wrote down. I think I wrote down the if you've got a spare $500,000, that line at the end, because that's one of the last things the real estate lady had said to us, you know, the real estate chatter, and I thought that was really really funny. A bit of spare change lying around.
Yeah.
I guess the story came first in that sense. A lot of the time, I don't know if words or music or whatever comes first, but the story came first, and then it built around it. And I mean, it was basically, you know, pulling sentences, like the brief conversation that we'd had, and the kind of back and forth to paint that picture. And it was kind of sad because it was like this old lady's house that had died, and the family was trying to sell it, and all of her cute little grandma things were still around, and so I kind of left feeling really sad. And then there was the other side of it, just the kind of throwaway, like make some money out of it kind of side. And then I went home and I was working on it for ages, and then I remember the chords came really easily because I at the time was learning, you guys know the go-betweens, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Streets of Your Town, or whatever it is, that.
What a brilliant band, huh? Go-betweens.
Really good band,
Really
one of my
great
favourite bands. And so I guess that kind of grew out of that a little bit. I mean, it's in a different key or whatever, but and it's kind of really different. But to me, it sounds similar. So that was the chords, and then it was so simple. I just kind of wanted to keep it the basics. So it's just the two chords the whole way through, and I felt like the story kind of had a lot to tell, so it didn't need, you know, too much fanciness.
Mm-hmm. Are you able to sort of, you know, make it up on the spot, singing into a recorder, or do you have to write down all those? Because your lyrics are very dense, so do you have to write it down before you actually get the recording up to speed?
I a bit of both. Sometimes it just happens magically, which is great, and not too often. But
Wow.
I don't know. I do that a lot, and kind of what we were saying before, the kind of stream of conscious, and then because it's quite a kind of embarrassing process. So to just say all the things that you don't even know that are on your mind, and a lot of repeating, and it sounds terrible, and so I think I've kind of saved a lot of it and then put it away, and then sometimes I'm going through that old stuff, and it's actually okay, but at the time it was, you'd never want anyone in the world ever to hear it.
The guitar style, we're getting it's a real treat watching you finger pick here, kind of small intimate setting. This is the way you started out in some ways, in front of those smaller audiences, playing just you and a guitar. And then, seeing you on stage, over the years, last 3 years, mostly in a three-piece format. Pitchfork Music Festival out there last summer, I think it was. Sheets of sound. I mean, it's just like rhythm, lead. You're filling up a lot of space. There's no backing tracks going on up there, right? It's just you and your rhythm section. That's an amazing sound. Where did you sort of develop your technique as a guitar player? Did you ever take lessons? How did you sort of? I met you had a lot of experience as a live musician, but sort of where did that approach to guitar come from?
I did, yeah. I took guitar lessons when I was a kid, and I think I loved it. I had a really cool, fun teacher, and he introduced me to a lot of music as well, which was the other good part of it. Like, he was like, "Have you heard Jeff Buckley and the Beatles?" And I never had, and I was like, "Wow, PJ Harvey, what's this?"
Mm-hmm.
But I think I kind of reached a learning point and then couldn't learn any. Like, I think I just switched off maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So and then at school I was kind of like more of a rhythm player than a lead, and I played in the school jazz band and stuff. But I'd kind of sit there and with my volume down and just kind of do that, mime in the background, and but yeah, and when I started doing the open mics and stuff, I was playing acoustic then, and people always ask me that I don't use a pick, and I think it's because when I was playing acoustic all the time with a pick, I just hate the sound of it on the strings, and so I stopped, and then I guess. And I think also because I was playing by myself on acoustic guitar, probably kind of, I guess it was some sort of like percussive thing as well. I don't know. I never thought about it that much, but then, now that's how I know how to play, and I get really sore fingers. I'd probably be a much better guitarist if I did use a pick, but I don't. And but that's it.
It sounds like you really get. But that percussive thing you're talking about, because I really feel like I'm almost hearing two guitars on stage when you're playing. It's like there's a lead thing going on, but there's also this rhythmic thing going on.
Yeah, I think, so when I first started writing on these songs, when I was by myself tracking the two, I'd do a rhythm and a lead, and obviously couldn't do that live, so I would always get a friend to come and play the lead stuff wherever we were. So like over time, we've kind of been a 3-piece and a 4-piece and a 5-piece and maybe even a 6-piece one night. And so I always got someone else to do those bits, because I thought if I'm focusing on singing, I can just do the chords. And then when we did the album, Dan Luscombe, who played guitar on the new album, he's an amazing guitarist, and I would just find myself I could kind of check out, like he could carry the whole guitar situation, and I found myself kind of getting a bit lazy, and then he couldn't do a tour, and I was like, who am I going to get to play guitar? And then I thought I'd just do it myself, and then so I'm kind of combining the two things, I guess, and with a bit of extra noise it cancels out all the wrong notes.
I want to seize on
Being overly modest.
seize on that phrase you just used, a little bit of extra noise. The one downside of having you in this format, I mean, what a treat it is for us to have you here showing us these songs in this way. But if people are tuning in on the radio and they've never heard you, I mean, there is an intensity. I made that Cobain comparison earlier. You know, it's like Nirvana was when Nirvana was great. You're all over that stage. You're from the minute you land, and then Pedestrian at Best like explodes, and you're a very, I mean, you rock, you shred.
Thanks.
Yeah. Is that hard night after night? Because in a three-piece, there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, true.
And people are expecting, especially now that we've seen you once or twice, you know. I saw you at first time at South by Southwest, and it blew my mind, you know. And then when you came to Chicago after that, I was like, you know, I don't know if it'll be that good again. It was better. And it seems like every time it's more energetic, it's harder, it's louder, it's better.
Yeah, that's good.
How do you do it?
I think it feels like that for me as well. I think like the more we play, I think kind of like what I was saying, that I used to, I mean, you know, we've always had fun playing as a band, but it was kind of easy, and I would kind of do the rhythm, and doing the new album and doing Dan's guitar parts, it kind of I really had to push my skills to another level. So it's kind of on the edge of completely falling apart a lot of the time because it's hard for me. And then there's a lot of words, and it's, you know, it's kind of, but it's really good. So it there's not a moment in our shows where I'm kind of clocking out and being bored and like wondering what's on TV or something.
Right.
And that's which I think maybe, I don't know, I've heard stories, some people do that, so that's a good thing, you know, for everyone involved. I forget the original question.
No, that was...
All right, so I want to ask you another thing about your songwriting, because we've been talking about, you know, here you take an elevator ride, or a friend describes to you an elevator ride, and you're making these wonderful songs about everyday kind of moments. But I'm listening to your record again, and I go, you know, Courtney's an environmentalist too. You're writing protest songs. We just had, this is on my mind because we just had Bill McKibben on the show, who is a great activist and a reporter on the environment. Maybe the foremost authority as a journalist in the world on that. And you know, Earth Day and all this stuff is sort of in the air again, and you know, obviously the things are going on in the environment that are not good. And then you listen to a song like Dead Fox or Kim's Caravan, and those songs seem to be, you know, obviously directly addressing some of your personal feelings about a very serious subject, a big, you know, as big a subject as there can be. As a person who writes music and appreciates music, do you feel that writing about serious subjects like that can have any kind of an effect on the way the world works? I mean, what's your experience with that kind of, you know, protest songs, for lack of a better word? And I wouldn't call them protest songs directly, but they're certainly addressing big subjects.
Yeah. I think that I didn't think about it that strongly when I was writing them. It was just, obviously it was kind of, you know, things that were on my mind and that I felt passionate about. I think when I was in high school, I was on the debate team, and I thought that was really, I really wanted to be a good debater, but I wasn't. I just wasn't. I was really nervous, and I was really bad at speaking. And you know, my mum's really cool, and she's always like, when I was growing up, she was like, you can be whatever you want to be. You can be a musician, or you could be the first female prime minister if you wanted to. And I always thought that was really nice. And but my problem is that I'm not that good at communicating my ideas, except through song. So that's you know, why I'm not a debater or a politician or whatever. I think, you know, music is extremely powerful and it can carry, you know, amazing messages and stuff. I've never like solidly kind of thought I'm gonna tell these people this, but it's more just kind of subtly sharing my views, and I don't know, maybe it does need to be stronger, and you know, if we kind of just sit there and say, oh, it's a bit bad.
Throwing your hands up in the air. Well, that was McKibben's point.
That was his argument. Yeah,
that, more artists need to be addressing it and talking about it, so that their audience will talk about it.
And you mentioned Patti Smith earlier. He was, he went to the Paris summit, and there was this concert, and Patti played "People Have the Power." People have the power, and said that like we are so screwed with the environment. It is so already the day after tomorrow, that like the only thing we can do is inspire people to like get up and change things immediately, because otherwise we're all going to fry.
Yeah, I agree.
That was his take. We should note you're wearing koalas on your sweater. All right, so last question, Courtney, because we have to let you go, and you got to play this sold-out show. It's been 13 months since the first album dropped.
Has it?
Yeah. March of 2015. When do we get the next one? Are you looking ahead to the next album?
Yeah, I guess I've been writing since always, but I'm not very good at making decisions or plans or timelines. So I kind of just amble along until it really has to be done. But I'm sure I want to record something again soon.
Okay.
My environmentalist album.
There you go. Concept album.
Yeah.
Right on.